Yo, what is up, Cup Check audience? Welcome back to another episode. I'm here in the stew with Zach, continuing to pound out these episodes for you here. And today we're going to be looking at ESPN live draft trends. Now that people are starting to do their fantasy drafts, we're starting to see which players are going earlier than others. And we're also seeing which players are falling down even further in draft boards. Me and Zach just did our draft as well, so we have some good insight on people who kind of hung around a little too long. And we're also going to be just looking at just ESPN's list of people who are really climbing up the draft boards right now. So Zach, where would you like to kick us off at? Checking out at the risers.
Yeah, looking at the risers, first guy I want to talk about, Chris Bryant. How do you think the trade to Colorado is going to affect this dude? Because right now he's got a 7-day 30% increase in his ADP. 30.
Yeah.
Sorry, wait, cut that out. Because right now he's got a seven over the past 7 days, he's risen 30 spots on ESPN. So what you thinking about that?
Yeah, Chris Bryant, obviously, with that trade, maybe going to the best possible landing space for him, other than like the Yankees or like Dodgers, because their lineups are going to be insane. But having that Coors effect really raises Bryant's value. This is a guy who should still be in the prime of his career. He's not too old. He's not too young. He's been around the league for a while. And he also has dual eligibility, which is really nice as well, really convenient when you're managing your team. Chris Bryant up 30 spots, no shock to me. His average pick is right at 50 right now, which seems reasonable. I definitely think Coors Chris Bryant is a top 50 player, just because he put up pretty solid stats like on the Cubs. So now kind of amplifying all of that in Coors is going to really help his draft stock.
Yeah, and I think you and I both agree that playing in Coors isn't going to make a great player bad. It's not going to make a bad player good. All it does is, if you're already a great hitter, it's going to amplify your stats a little bit.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Chris
This is a
Bryant,
guy.
he's a really, really talented guy, and hitting in a place like that, it'll definitely help him out.
Yeah, and in our redraft league, we had our 7 keepers each. Chris Bryant was not kept because the team who had him happened to be kind of loaded with keepers, but Zach had the number 3 pick, and I really think that he was kind of fiending to pick Chris Bryant, and it just didn't work out that way. Let's hear a little more. I think you were planning on building your redraft around Chris Bryant at the 3 pick.
Yeah. So like you said, we have 7 keepers. So with the 3 pick, it was more that I had the 73rd overall pick technically,
Yeah.
and I had him queued up and driving home from work right as the draft was starting. Had him queued, and then I saw he went the second pick, the pick right before, so I had to pull over and reassess. But yeah, I really did want him, especially third base is such a weak position this year that if you have a top tier third baseman, it helps you out a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Third base, a really weak position. Another reason why his ADP is probably climbing. First one I want to dive into a little bit here as well. Marcell Ozuna is up 27 average draft positions. He's now going in the 150 range, currently at 155. What do you think of Ozuna, a guy who has been a top 5, top 6 round player in the past? He sure has missed a lot of baseball with the off-field antics, but probably one of the best hitters that you can get at that point in the draft. So what are you thinking about Ozuna?
So are we confirmed that he'll be starting opening day?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. I like Ozuna. Yeah, I like Ozuna. He hits home runs. And as you said, the off-field antics have kept him out for a while. But the dude is a pure hitter, and you should be able to get him still at a really big discount because this is the lowest he's been in a long time, just because of the amount of time he's missed, and that people maybe just don't want a dude on his team that got suspended for so long. So I do like Ozuna because of just the pure power home run potential.
Yeah, definitely Ozuna. I think it's worth the risk at that point in the draft. I mean, there's not many hitters at that point in the draft with his upside potentially. Zach, who else is standing out to you on the risers list right now?
All right, we'll go one more riser here. I'm going Luke Voigt. What do you think about that? The move to San Diego, he's up 16 spots, but ESPN still has him at an ADP of 232. Seems pretty low for a guy that has as much home run potential as him. Where would you take Luke Voigt?
Yeah, Luke Voigt's a guy who I'm pretty high on. I think it's a good landing spot for him. At the same time, we haven't seen Luke Voigt be elite since that COVID year. So I might end up really regretting this one. But in our current draft, I ended up going Mountcastle over Luke Voigt, which might not be the popular opinion at that point in the draft. But I don't want to say I'm out on Luke Voigt because I remember how good he could be. But at that average draft position, I think it's worth the risk, honestly. If especially if you're kind of punting first basemen still at that point in the draft.
Yeah, I'm not like crazy high on Luke Voigt, but at 232 ADP, especially if you're not in a keeper league and it's just a redraft, why not take a risk at Luke Voigt? That's if you have a 25 team roster, that's one of your last picks on a guy that has really 40 home run potential. I would take a flyer on that.
Another riser I want to point out, Bobby Whit Jr., a guy who is up 51 average draft position picks. He's now going in that 148 range on average, but I've seen drafts, especially just like watching live drafts, listening to other content creators as well, who are really thinking that Bobby Witt Jr. is worth that kind of near the 100th pick value, so even higher. Honestly, this is a guy who I think his ADP will continue to climb as spring training ends. Obviously, up 51 picks, topping the leaderboards for ESPN. A dude who's tearing up spring training right now. I'm trying to find the exact stats, but it is speculated that he will be the opening starter on opening day for third base for the Royals. So I don't know. Bobby Witt Jr. at 50 picks. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah. Um, this is one of those things where you could have a huge generational talent. The things people have said about this guy, the combo of power and speed, the 30-30 potential, an ADP of 148, I would expect that to just keep on rising. And I would absolutely take him before then, even in a redraft league. Obviously, if you're in a keeper league, then he'll go really high. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all by the um, 50 spot rise from Bobby Witt.
Yeah, I'm not either. This is going to be a guy where I think, especially even if you don't really feel, I don't know if there's going to be people around Bobby Witt that you're going to really want because it's really a strong point in the draft, especially at that round 100. There's kind of just like that ending tier of really good players you want on your team. But at worst, Bobby Witt Jr., even if you're not a believer in the talent, is a guy that you can draft and he's going to have immense trade value, especially when opening day rolls around. The hype's only going to continue to build. Bobby Witt Jr. so far in spring is 5 for 12 with 2 homers, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base, hitting 290 so far. So pretty exciting to see Bobby Witt showing up to spring training, a 21-year-old as well. We've seen a lot of success from these young 20-year-old prospects with this much pedigree in terms of like Soto, Acuna, all these guys. And yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. If he really has that breakout year one, you're going to be looking at a guy who can really provide stolen bases, power, and average, as well as elite defense. If your league's weird and has some kind of defensive point system as well.
Yeah. If you do have that in your league, probably just stop. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm so excited for the season to start, to see what guys like Bobby Witt are going to do. All right, unfortunately, we got to start looking at the ADP fallers. We don't want to, but we have to do what we have to do. Now, a guy that's been pretty viral, you might say, these days, Will Smith, but not that Will Smith, the other Will Smith, the closer Will Smith, who may not be a closer anymore, falling 94 ADP spots. Do you think Kenley will take over that closer role? And do you think Will Smith is even a viable fantasy closer at this point?
Yeah, I think Will Smith is completely fantasy irrelevant at the current situation. Average draft position down to 252. So a guy who in some leagues, there's not even 250 picks. But yeah, Will Smith, I had him last year on my team. I've watched him play. I didn't think he was all that great to begin with. Obviously, put up like decent stats, but just in terms of stuff as well, not a guy who's too electric, but you never know. Kenley Jansen is a pretty old guy, but he also just has that experience that comes with like closing doors. So I would expect Will Smith to be a solid eighth inning guy. And if your league does holds, maybe it has some fantasy value, but in just standard leagues, I don't think Will Smith has any value currently anymore.
Yeah, really, I think he's just a guy that in deep leagues, you might stash him in case Kenley gets injured. That's only in deep leagues, because I know Braves fans were so mad at this guy. He stumbled into a lot of saves last year, but he made it nerve-wracking. And he performed in the playoffs, but throughout the regular season, he was a shaky guy. And I will have no shares of Will Smith this year. Sorry to say, Will, we love you, but do we? Because we didn't sound like we loved you. So sorry, Will.
Yeah. First guy I want to point out on the list, Byron Buxton. It's saying that he is down an average of 29 ADP and is now at 136.9. And I want to say
That's
this right now.
bogus.
That's got to be cap. Like this list has got to be ridiculous. Byron Buxton is easily a top 50 player in the league. And according to this recent update on his player profile from March 8th, 18th, Buxton went 1 for 2 with a single and a stolen base in spring training debuts. And Thursday's loss to Boston. Quote, my legs feel good. My hip feels good. I feel good. If Buxton feels good, I feel good about Buxton. I want all the shares of Buxton I can get as long as this dude's healthy. I'm trying to Google and just like make sure he didn't get hurt like yesterday, which might explain why he's falling, because obviously a guy who struggles with the injury stuff. But dude, if your draft is gonna let Buxton fall that far, grab him.
Yeah, and he's doing fine in spring training, hitting 300 with a home run.
Yeah, and
So
I'm looking at Google for Buxton injured. There's no recent like update or anything that I'm seeing, but yeah, literally Buxton at 130 whatever is the league winner. I mean, I think so. Zach, what do you think?
yeah, Buxton should not be falling in ADP. If anything, he should be rising, because people should be seeing how good he is. Also, now he's surrounded by Correa in the lineup, which doesn't hurt him. Um, yeah, I love Buxton.
Buxton gave first round player value last year when he was playing. When he was on the field, he was a top 10 player in terms of just fantasy output. So, I mean, holy cow. Yeah, I mean, if he's at 136 in your draft, I would just go ahead and take him as early as like round 6 or 7. I would not wait around for Buxton, but also just kind of have my eyes on him and, obviously know your league, know if there's some sharks out there who are also thinking about Buxton. Zach, who else is sticking out to you on the fallers list?
Yeah, huge guy that we honestly probably should have mentioned first. Fernando Tatis Jr. has fallen 20 spots in the past 7 days, down to an ADP of 80. Now we've heard he's going to be out about 3 months, is the general news we've heard. What do you think about Tatis? Because this is maybe the biggest question of the entire fantasy draft for 2022. A guy with huge talent, but you'll miss a few months. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the graphic we're looking at is ADP falling in the last 7 days. Realistically, that just means Tatis has fallen 80 spots in general since the news has broke about his injury. This one's really tough for me because at that pick 80, you're picking him over a guy like Bobby Witt. You're picking him apparently over a guy like Buxton. Yeah, I mean, you're picking him over some really solid pitchers like a Frankie Montas or even like a Logan Webb, honestly, at that point in the draft. Yeah, I mean, that's the point of the draft. I really look to get like that firm, like back of my rotation, like 2, 3 starter. So I probably personally won't have too many shares of Tatis, especially at pick 80. I would rather go with a guy who's going to play. And if he continues to fall much further beyond 80, I would have to take the risk. But I'm also a guy who doesn't like just clogging up the DL spot.
I disagree, man. I think that if you're in a roto league, I still think Tatis has that value because roto you need stolen bases. And when he comes back, he'll be able to get a lot more stolen bases than the average player will get in an entire season. Also, if you're in a weekly league and you got playoffs at the end, you want Tatis on your playoff squad at the end of the season, assuming he'll be healthy by then, and he should be, as long as everything goes relatively smoothly. So I would take Tatis way above this 80 spot because he's one of the most talented players in the league. Even if you have to stash him on the IL for the first few months, I'm still taking Tatis. He's too
Yeah, I
good.
mean, fair enough. Two very different, just kind of drafting viewpoints here on Cup Check, and only time's going to tell. I mean, obviously, Tatis is a guy who's beaten the injury timeline before, so if he does that again, power to you. You're just gonna have to weigh your own risk reward ratio for you, and kind of make your own assessment as well. But yeah, only time will tell on that. And that's going to do it for our risers and fallers video for the 2022 season. Obviously, go to ESPN and check it out for yourself. You can just search live draft trends and kind of see who's falling, who's rising, and see who are some of the other guys that you think are steals as well. Thank you guys for watching. That's going to do it for today's episode. Say along.